People were screaming. No one dared to step closer. The dog kept coming back. And that woman. She didn't run. She didn't let go. She wrapped her body around the child. Like losing herself didn't matter anymore. When the biker finally reached them, he didn't just see fear. He saw something impossible, a necklace, one he had buried with his past. And in that moment, Christmas became something else entirely. The city was cold that night, the kind of cold that stayed even when people tried to ignore it. Snow had fallen earlier in the afternoon and turned into wet slush along the streets. Cars moved slowly, headlights reflecting on the ground. Tall buildings stood close together, blocking most of the sky. Christmas lights hung above the streets and along storefronts, blinking softly in red, green, and white. They made the city look warmer than it really was. People walked quickly, shoulders raised, hands buried in pockets. Parents held their children close. Everyone seemed to be in a hurry, trying to finish shopping before the night ended. Jack Mercer walked through the front entrance of the shopping mall with his daughter. Jack was 50 years old. He was tall and heavy-built, with broad shoulders and thick arms, shaped by years of physical work. His leather jacket was old and worn, creased at the elbows and collar. Tattoos covered most of his arms and ran up the side of his neck. His hair was long, streaked with gray, and tied back into a simple knot. He had a short beard and sharp eyes that stayed alert, even when he tried to relax. People noticed him. Some stared, some stepped aside without thinking about it. Jack was used to that. He didn't care. What mattered to him was the small hand in his. Holly Mercer was 6 years old. She wore a red Christmas dress with white trim and a matching red hat that covered her ears. Her cheeks were pink from the cold. She held a small plush candy cane in one hand and swung it as she walked. Her boots lit up when she stepped, blinking softly on the polished floor. She looked up at her father often, checking that he was still there. "Dad," she said, pulling slightly on his hand. "We still need marshmallows." Jack nodded. "I know." "The little ones," she added, "not the big ones." He glanced down at her. "The little ones." "And chocolate chips." He gave a small breath through his nose. "You're serious about this." "It's Christmas," Holly said. "Hot chocolate needs both." Jack didn't argue. Every Christmas Eve they made hot chocolate together. It was something he had promised himself he would never skip, no matter how tired he was, no matter how hard the year had been. Inside the mall, the air was warm. Christmas music played from overhead speakers. The smell of baked goods and coffee filled the space. The mall was crowded with families, shopping carts, and children pointing at displays. A man dressed as Santa Claus sat near a large decorated tree, posing for photos. He looked bored but patient. Jack kept Holly close as they moved through the crowd. He walked steadily, guiding the shopping cart with one hand while holding her hand with the other. He paid attention to who was around them, a habit he had never lost. They entered the grocery section connected to the mall. Bright lights reflected off clean floors. Shelves were filled with holiday food and decorations. Jack placed items into the cart one by one: milk, cocoa powder, marshmallows, chocolate chips, bread, a small ham. He paused at a shelf of decorations, then added a short string of white Christmas lights. "For the window?" Holly asked. Jack nodded. "Yeah." She smiled. "Okay." They stopped near a display of Christmas cards. Holly picked one with a reindeer on the front. "This one," she said. "For who?" Jack asked. "For us." He placed it in the cart without comment. At the checkout, the line was long. Jack stood behind the cart, shifting his weight slightly. Holly leaned against the side, humming quietly. A baby cried somewhere behind them. The cashier at the front laughed with a customer. When it was their turn, Jack unloaded the cart onto the counter. The cashier was a young woman with dark hair pulled into a tight bun. Her name tag read Maya. She looked tired but friendly. "That's a nice dress," Maya said to Holly. Holly turned once, showing it off. "It's for Christmas." Maya smiled. "I like it." Jack nodded in thanks. He reached into his pocket for his wallet. His phone buzzed. He glanced at it without thinking. A message from the garage, a problem that could wait. He typed a short reply and slid the phone back into his pocket. That moment was enough. Jack turned back toward the counter and reached for the bags. Holly was no longer beside him. At first he thought she had stepped to the other side of the cart. He looked down, then left, then right. Nothing. "Holly?" he said. No answer. His chest tightened. The sounds of the mall seemed to fade slightly, as if he were underwater. "Holly," he said again, louder. Maya stopped scanning items. "Sir?" Jack didn't respond. He stepped away from the counter and looked down the aisle. People moved past him, carts rolling, coats brushing. He scanned faces and clothing, searching for red. He moved faster now. "Holly!" A few people turned their heads. Most didn't. Jack pushed through the crowd, careful not to knock anyone over. He checked the candy display, the nearby benches, the edge of the Santa photo area. Nothing. He walked quickly toward the main corridor of the mall. Christmas lights hung overhead. A large tree stood at the center, surrounded by families taking photos. He scanned the area. No red dress. Jack felt his breathing change. He forced himself to slow it down. Panic wouldn't help. He needed to think clearly. He turned back toward the grocery entrance. Cold air rushed in each time the automatic doors opened. Maybe she had wandered outside. Maybe she had followed something that caught her attention. Jack headed toward the doors. Before stepping outside, he stopped in front of a security guard standing near the entrance. The man was older, wearing a standard uniform and holding a radio. "My daughter is missing," Jack said. His voice was firm and controlled. "She's 6. Red Christmas dress, red hat, name's Holly," the guard straightened immediately. "Okay, sir, stay calm." "She was just here," Jack said. "She didn't go far." The guard spoke into his radio, giving a description. Jack didn't wait for him to finish. He stepped outside. The cold hit him immediately. Snowflakes drifted lightly through the air. The parking lot was busy with people loading cars and rushing inside. Jack scanned the area carefully. No Holly. He turned slowly, checking every direction. His eyes moved quickly, trained to notice small details. Then he heard shouting. Not close, somewhere off to the side, behind the building. Jack's body reacted before his thoughts did. He turned toward the sound and started walking fast. The shouting grew clearer as he moved toward the darker area behind the mall, where delivery trucks parked and lights were fewer. The wind was stronger there. Snow gathered in corners and along the wall. The noise of the mall faded behind him. Jack didn't slow down. "Holly," he called again. There was no answer. He rounded the corner, stepping fully into the shadowed service area behind the building, and that was where everything was about to change. The service area behind the mall was quieter than the front, but not empty. A few delivery trucks were parked along the wall. Trash bins stood in uneven lines, lids rattling slightly in the wind. Snow had gathered in thin layers along the ground, where footsteps were rare. The lights here were dimmer, yellow and uneven, leaving long shadows across the pavement. Jack slowed for just a second, scanning the area. Then he saw her. Holly was on the ground near the far wall, her red dress bright against the gray concrete and snow. She was crying, her small body curled inward. Standing a few feet away was a large dog, dark brown and unkempt, its ribs visible under dirty fur. It growled low, teeth bared, stepping closer. Before Jack could shout, a woman moved. She came from behind one of the parked trucks, fast despite her thin frame. She dropped to her knees beside Holly and pulled the child into her arms. She turned her body so her back faced the dog, wrapping herself around the girl completely. "Stay still," the woman said, her voice rough but steady. "Don't move." The dog lunged. The woman tightened her hold, lowering her head over Holly's, using her own body as a shield. The dog snapped at the air inches from her shoulder. Jack didn't think. He ran. His boots hit the ground hard as he crossed the distance. He shouted once, loud and sharp. The dog turned toward him, startled. Jack grabbed a loose piece of wood near the trash bins and swung it with all his strength, striking the ground just in front of the animal. The noise echoed off the wall. "Get back!" Jack yelled. The dog hesitated, growled again, then snapped once more in Jack's direction. Jack stepped forward without slowing, raising the wood again. He struck the ground a second time, closer. The dog backed away, tail low, then turned and ran toward the far end of the lot, disappearing into the darkness. Jack stood there for a moment, chest rising fast, hands shaking slightly from the effort. Then he dropped the wood and rushed to Holly. She was still in the woman's arms, crying hard now. The woman rocked slightly, one arm tight around the child, the other pressed against her own side. Blood ran from a cut on her forehead, mixing with melted snow. "It's okay," the woman said again and again, though her voice trembled. "You're okay. I've got you." Jack knelt beside them. "Holly," he said, his voice breaking for the first time. "Holly, I'm here." Holly looked up at him, eyes wide and wet. "Dad!" she cried, reaching for him. Jack pulled her into his arms, holding her tight. He checked her quickly. Hands, arms, legs, no blood, no obvious injuries. She was shaking, but she was alive. He let out a breath he hadn't realized he was holding. Only then did he look at the woman. She was thin, her clothes layered but torn and dirty. A long coat hung loosely on her frame, sleeves frayed. Her hair, once blonde, was dull and tangled, pulled back with a broken clip. Her face was pale, and the cut on her forehead bled steadily. Her hands were rough and red from the cold. She looked at Holly, not at Jack. "She almost got hurt," the woman said quietly. "The dog came out of nowhere." Jack nodded once. "You saved her." The woman didn't respond. She swayed slightly. Jack noticed it immediately. "You're injured," he said. "We need to get you help." The woman shook her head weakly. "She first." "She's okay," Jack said. "But you're not." He stood, holding Holly close, then offered his free hand to the woman. She hesitated, then took it. Her grip was light, almost unsure. They moved toward the front of the mall together. Someone had already called for help. Within minutes, flashing lights reflected off the snow. An ambulance pulled up, followed by a police car. Paramedics approached quickly. "What happened?" one of them asked. Jack explained in short sentences. Dog, child, woman protected her, injury to the head. The paramedics examined Holly first. Her heart rate was high, but she wasn't hurt. Then they turned to the woman. As they cleaned the cut on her forehead, she flinched but didn't complain. "We're taking her in," one paramedic said. "Possible concussion." Jack nodded. "I'm coming." At the hospital, the lights were bright and the air smelled of disinfectant. Holly sat wrapped in a blanket, sipping warm juice. A nurse checked her again and smiled. "She's going to be fine," the nurse said. Jack thanked her, his voice low. The woman lay on a nearby bed, eyes closed now. Blood had been cleaned from her face. A thin bandage crossed her forehead. Her coat and shoes were placed in a plastic bag at the foot of the bed. Jack stood beside her, watching her breathe. That was when he saw it. Around her neck was a thin silver chain, old, worn, hanging just above her collarbone. Jack leaned closer. The pendant was small, 2 wings pressed together. His chest tightened. He had seen that necklace before. He knew every curve of it. His wife had worn it every day. Jack straightened slowly, his heart pounding harder than it had when he ran toward the dog. "No," he whispered. He looked at the woman's face again, the shape of her jaw, the faint scar near her hairline, things he hadn't noticed before, or hadn't allowed himself to see. Holly stirred in her chair and looked up at him. "Dad?" she asked softly. Jack didn't answer right away. He stood there, staring at the woman who had saved his daughter's life, as a thought formed in his mind that felt impossible and unavoidable at the same time. The hospital was quiet in a way that felt heavy rather than calm. The hallways were wide and bright, but the sound of footsteps echoed too clearly. Machines hummed softly behind closed doors. Nurses moved with practiced speed, their voices low and controlled. Outside the windows, snow continued to fall, thin and steady. Jack sat on a plastic chair beside Holly's bed. She was wrapped in a hospital blanket, her red Christmas dress folded neatly on a nearby chair. The nurse had checked her twice already and assured him she was fine. Still, Jack kept one hand resting on her leg, grounding himself in the simple fact that she was here. Holly sipped from a small cup of apple juice. "Dad," she said quietly, "is the lady okay?" Jack looked through the glass partition toward the next bed, where the woman lay. "The doctors are checking on her," he said. "She got hurt helping you." Holly nodded slowly. "She held me really tight." "I know," Jack said. "She did the right thing." Holly was quiet for a moment. Then she asked, "Is she coming back?" Jack didn't answer right away. He didn't know what back meant yet. A doctor approached holding a clipboard. He was middle-aged, calm, and spoke in a steady voice. "She has a concussion," the doctor said. "Nothing life-threatening, but she needs rest. We'll keep her overnight for observation." Jack nodded. "Does she remember what happened?" The doctor shook his head slightly. "She's confused. Memory loss, possibly from earlier trauma. We'll know more later." Jack felt the words settle in his chest. "Can I see her?" he asked. "Yes," the doctor said, "but keep it brief." Jack stood, motioning for Holly to stay seated. She watched him closely as he walked the short distance to the woman's bed. Up close, the woman looked smaller than she had outside. Cleaned up, her face showed signs of age and exhaustion. There were faint lines around her eyes and mouth. Her hair, now brushed back by a nurse, was lighter than Jack remembered, but still familiar in a way he couldn't ignore. The necklace rested against her skin. Jack's eyes stayed on it. He remembered buying it years ago, a small shop near the highway. Donna had laughed, saying it was too simple. She wore it anyway, every day. The woman stirred slightly and opened her eyes. They were unfocused at first, then slowly settled on Jack. She looked at him without recognition. "Am I in trouble?" she asked quietly. "No," Jack said. His voice was low and careful. "You're safe." She nodded, then looked away, as if tired already. "What's your name?" Jack asked. She hesitated, her brow furrowed. "I don't know," she said. "I forget sometimes." Jack swallowed. "Do you remember saving the little girl?" he asked. Her eyes shifted toward Holly's bed. She studied the child for a moment, her expression softening. "Yes," she said slowly. She was scared. "She's my daughter," Jack said. The woman looked back at him. Something passed across her face, quick and unclear. "I didn't want her to get hurt," she said. "I couldn't let that happen." Jack nodded. "Thank you." She shrugged slightly, then winced and touched her head. A nurse stepped in. "She needs rest," she said gently. Jack took a step back. Before he turned away, he asked one more question. "Do you remember this necklace?" The woman's fingers lifted instinctively, touching the pendant. "I've had it a long time," she said. "It feels important." Jack returned to Holly's side. She looked up at him. "Dad?" He met her eyes. "Yeah." "The lady, she feels nice," Holly said. "Like someone I know." Jack didn't reply. He didn't trust his voice. Later that night, Holly fell asleep. Her breathing was slow and even. Jack stayed awake, sitting still, watching both beds. Every so often, the woman shifted or murmured something too quiet to understand. Near midnight, she whispered a single word. "Leo?" Jack froze. His heart began to pound. That name hadn't been spoken in years, not aloud, not by anyone but him. He stood slowly and stepped closer. The woman was asleep again, her face tense, her hand curled loosely at her side. Jack stayed there, staring at her, as the reality he had tried to push away began to take shape. Morning came slowly. The hospital lights never fully dimmed, but the noise changed. Fewer voices, softer footsteps. The steady rhythm of machines continued, calm and regular. Snow still fell outside, thin and quiet against the windows. Jack had not slept. He sat in the same chair, his jacket folded over the back. His eyes burned from staying open too long, but he didn't move. Holly slept beside him, curled on her side, her blanket pulled up to her chin. Her face was peaceful now, free from fear. Jack watched her breathe. Every few minutes, his eyes drifted to the other bed. The woman lay still, one hand resting on her stomach, the other beside her. The bandage on her forehead was clean. Her breathing was slow and steady. She looked older in sleep, but also calmer. The necklace rested where it had all night, catching the light whenever she moved. The name she had whispered echoed in Jack's mind. Leo. It wasn't just a name, it was a piece of his life he had locked away. He hadn't planned to open that door again. A nurse entered quietly, checking monitors. She glanced at Jack. "You can go get some coffee if you want," she said. "We'll watch them." Jack shook his head. "I'm fine." The nurse nodded and moved on. Jack reached into his jacket pocket and pulled out his phone. The screen lit up with missed messages and notifications he ignored. He opened a folder he hadn't touched in years. Photos, documents, old files. He scrolled slowly, carefully, as if moving too fast might break something. There were pictures of a younger man with fewer lines on his face. Pictures of a woman with light hair and a serious smile that softened when she laughed. Pictures of a small apartment, a motorcycle parked outside, a baby wrapped in a blanket. Leo. Jack stopped scrolling. He opened a document labeled Accident Report. The words were still hard to read. 5 years ago. Icy road, late evening. Single vehicle accident on the bridge outside the city. Guardrail damaged. Vehicle recovered. No confirmed body found. He remembered standing in a police station, hands clenched, listening as officers explained what they didn't know. He remembered the silence afterward, the waiting that never ended. He scrolled further. Medical notes, search efforts, final conclusion, presumed deceased, presumed. Jack locked the phone and sat back, pressing his palms against his knees. He hadn't been there that night. He had been working late. He had told himself for years that there was nothing he could have done, that thinking otherwise was useless. But now the woman in the next bed had his wife's necklace, and she had said the name. Jack stood and walked to the window. The city looked slower in the morning light. Cars moved carefully. People shoveled snow. Life continued, steady and indifferent. Behind him, a small sound made him turn. The woman was awake. She blinked against the light, then noticed Jack standing near her bed. Her eyes followed him carefully, cautious, but not afraid. "Good morning," Jack said. She nodded. "Is it morning?" "Yes." She touched her head lightly. "It hurts." "The doctor said that would happen," Jack said. "They're keeping you here today." She nodded again, absorbing the information slowly. "What's your name?" she asked him. "Jack." She tried the name quietly. "Jack." He waited. "I don't remember mine," she said. "I usually don't." "That's okay," Jack said. "You don't have to force it." She looked down at her hands. "The little girl, is she okay?" "She's fine," Jack said. "She's sleeping." Relief crossed the woman's face. Her shoulders lowered slightly. "That's good," she said. "I was worried." Jack hesitated, then pulled a chair closer to her bed and sat down. "You were very brave," he said. "You didn't have to do what you did." She shook her head. "I did." "Why?" Jack asked. She thought for a moment. "I don't know. I just knew I couldn't leave her." Jack nodded. That answer made sense to him in a way he couldn't explain. A doctor entered the room with a clipboard. "She's stable," the doctor said to Jack. "We'll run some tests today. Memory recovery can be slow, especially if there is old trauma." Jack nodded. "Does she need anything?" "Rest. Food. Somewhere safe to go after discharge." Jack looked at the woman. She listened quietly, her expression blank but attentive. "I don't have a place," she said calmly. "I usually move around." The doctor glanced at Jack, then back at her. "We'll talk about options." After the doctor left, silence filled the space again. Jack spoke carefully. "Do you remember being married?" The woman frowned slightly. "No." "Do you remember an accident?" Jack asked. "Dad." She closed her eyes briefly. "Sometimes I see lights, noise, then nothing." Jack's chest tightened. He stood and moved closer, stopping just short of touching her. "Do you remember this necklace?" he asked gently. She looked down and held it again. "It makes me feel not alone." Jack nodded. "It belonged to someone important." She looked up at him. "To me?" "Yes," Jack said. "I believe so." Holly stirred then, waking slowly. She rubbed her eyes and sat up. The woman noticed her immediately. Holly looked at the woman, then at Jack. "Is she still here?" "Yes," Jack said. "She's awake." Holly slid off the bed and walked over without fear. She stood beside the woman and looked at the necklace. "You have shiny wings," Holly said. The woman smiled faintly. "Do you like them?" Holly nodded. "They look safe." The woman reached out slowly and touched Holly's hair, careful and gentle, as if asking permission. Holly didn't pull away. Jack watched the two of them, his thoughts settling into something solid and unavoidable. This wasn't coincidence. This was unfinished. And it wasn't going to stay buried anymore. The hospital room felt smaller by the afternoon. The lights stayed bright, and the sounds of the hallway came and went without pause. Holly sat on the bed, coloring in a small book a nurse had given her. Jack stood near the window, arms crossed, watching the snow melt into thin lines against the glass. The woman rested quietly. She looked tired but more alert than before. She listened carefully when people spoke, even if she didn't always understand everything right away. A social worker arrived just after lunch. Her name was Karen. She was in her 40s, dressed simply, with a calm voice and direct eyes. "I'm here to talk about discharge planning," Karen said. "And next steps." Jack nodded. "I can help." Karen glanced at the woman. "Do you have any identification, any paperwork?" The woman shook her head. "No." "Any family you remember?" Karen asked gently. The woman hesitated, then looked at Jack. "I don't know. He feels familiar, but I don't know why." Karen made a note. "That's okay. We'll go slowly." Jack cleared his throat. "I want to request a DNA test." Karen looked up. Between you and her?" "Between her and my daughter," Jack said. I believe she may be my wife, my daughter's mother. The room went quiet. Karen didn't react with surprise. She only nodded once. That's possible, she said. We can arrange that. The woman looked at Jack, confused but not upset. You think I'm her mother? Jack met her eyes. Yes. She didn't pull away. She didn't argue. She simply sat with the idea, as if testing how it felt. If it's true, she said slowly, I'd want to know. Karen explained the process. Samples would be taken. Results would take time. Nothing would change immediately. I can take her home, Jack said, when she's released. Karen studied him for a moment, then nodded. We'll need to confirm living arrangements, but yes, that can be discussed. Later that day, a nurse took samples. Holly watched quietly, holding her candy cane plush. Does it hurt? Holly asked. Just a little pinch, the nurse said. The woman held still. When it was done, she exhaled slowly. That evening, the doctor cleared her for discharge the next morning, under supervision. Jack signed papers. He listened carefully. He asked questions. He didn't rush. That night, Jack took Holly home while the woman stayed one more night for observation. Before they left, Holly walked over to the woman's bed. I'll come back, Holly said. The woman smiled faintly. Okay. At home, the apartment felt quiet. Jack moved through the familiar rooms with new awareness. He cleaned up, set out the blankets, and placed the string of lights on the windowsill. Even though it was late, Holly watched him. Is she going to stay with us? Is she? Holly asked. I think so, Jack said. At least for a while. Holly nodded, accepting it easily. The next morning, Jack returned to the hospital. The woman stood near the exit, wearing donated clothes that fit her better than her old ones. She held the same necklace, fingers brushing it often. You ready? Jack asked. She nodded. I think so. The drive was quiet. Snow lined the streets. The city looked calmer in daylight. Jack unlocked the apartment door and stepped aside. This is home, he said. She entered slowly, looking around. The space was small but clean. A couch, a table, a small Christmas tree in the corner. She stopped near the window. It feels safe, she said. Holly came up beside her and pointed. That's your seat if you want. The woman sat. Jack watched them both, knowing this wasn't the end of anything. It was the beginning. The apartment settled into a new rhythm. Mornings were quiet. Jack woke first, as he always did. He made coffee, packed Holly's school bag, and checked the weather on his phone. The woman, still without a name she could remember, woke later. She moved slowly, careful with her head, following the doctor's instructions. She listened more than she spoke. Jack gave her space. He didn't push questions. He didn't bring up the past unless she did. He focused on simple things. Meals, schedules, safety. Holly adapted faster than either of them. She showed the woman where the cups were, which drawer held the spoons, and how the heater worked. She explained which cartoons she liked and which ones were boring. When the woman forgot something she had just been told, Holly repeated it without frustration. It's okay, she said more than once. You can ask again. They began going on short walks together. Jack stayed close but let them walk side by side. The woman noticed small things, the sound of boots on snow, the way Holly held Jack's hand when crossing the street, the lights still hanging in windows after Christmas had passed. Sometimes she stopped and closed her eyes. I feel like I've been here before, she said once. Jack nodded. You probably have. At the clinic, the doctor explained what to expect. Memory loss from trauma could improve slowly. There might be gaps that never filled. There's no schedule, the doctor said. Pressure makes it worse. Jack understood. They started therapy sessions twice a week. The therapist, a woman named Laura, spoke calmly and didn't rush. She asked about feelings before facts, about safety before memory. The woman struggled to answer at first. Some questions made her anxious, some made her tired. Laura adjusted, focusing on the present. Right now, Laura said, you are safe. That sentence mattered. At home, the woman began helping with small tasks. She washed dishes, she folded laundry slowly, carefully. She watched Jack cook and asked questions. You're good at this, she said one evening. Jack shrugged. You learn when you have to. Holly sat at the table drawing. She held up a picture. It's us, she said. 3 figures, one tall, one small, one in the middle. The woman stared at it for a long time. Her eyes filled, but she didn't cry. "That feels right," she said. That night, after Holly went to bed, Jack found the woman sitting on the couch, holding the necklace. "I had a dream," she said quietly. Jack sat down across from her. "About what?" "A bridge," she said, "and headlights, and water." Jack stayed silent. "I heard a child crying," she continued. "I wanted to reach them, but I couldn't move." Her breathing became shallow. Jack spoke gently. "You don't have to go further." She nodded, grateful. Some days were harder than others. Loud noises startled her. Crowded places made her uncomfortable, but there were good moments too. Laughter during breakfast, shared meals, quiet evenings. One afternoon, the phone rang. Karen, the social worker, spoke clearly. "The DNA results are back." Jack closed his eyes briefly. "And it's a match," Karen said. "She is Holly's biological mother." Jack thanked her and ended the call. He didn't rush to tell anyone. That evening, after dinner, he sat with the woman at the table. "They confirmed it," he said. "You are her mother." She went very still. Holly looked up. "I knew it." The woman's hands trembled. "I don't remember, but I feel it." Jack nodded. "That's enough." The woman reached for Holly's hand. Holly squeezed back. Nothing else needed to be said. Winter began to loosen its hold on the city. The snow still fell some days, but it melted faster now. Sidewalks were wet instead of frozen. People walked slower. The air felt lighter. Inside the apartment, change came quietly. The woman started sleeping through the night. Fewer nightmares, fewer sudden awakenings. She still kept the necklace close, often holding it when she felt unsure, but she no longer looked lost when she woke up. Therapy continued. During one session, Laura placed a notebook on the table. "You don't need to remember everything," she said. "Write down what you do remember." The woman stared at the blank page. "I remember a motorcycle," she said after a moment. "Black, loud." Jack sat very still. "I remember riding behind someone," she continued. "Holding on. Feeling safe." Jack swallowed. Laura nodded. "That's good. Let's stop there." At home, the woman grew more confident. She cooked simple meals. She walked Holly to school some mornings. Teachers noticed and smiled. No one asked questions. One afternoon, Holly came home upset. "Dad," she said, "I fell at school." The woman knelt immediately, checking Holly's knee. Her movements were automatic, practiced. "It's okay," she said. "You're okay." Jack watched from the doorway. Something in the way she spoke, the way she touched Holly's shoulder, felt exact. That night, while washing dishes, the woman stopped suddenly. "Jack," she said. He turned. "My name," she said slowly. "It's Donna." Jack closed his eyes. She pressed her hand to her chest. "It came back all at once, not everything, just that," Jack nodded. "That's enough." Later, she sat on the couch, holding old photos Jack had taken out of a box. She studied each one carefully. "That's me," she said, "and that's you." She stopped at a photo of a baby wrapped in a blanket. "That's Holly," she said without hesitation. Her breathing changed. Tears filled her eyes. "I left her," she whispered. "No," Jack said firmly. "You didn't." She shook her head. "I should have protected her." "You did," Jack said. "You always did." Donna cried quietly. Holly climbed onto the couch and hugged her. "I'm here," Holly said. Donna held her tightly. That night, Donna slept with the bedroom door open. The light stayed on low. Jack sat on the couch, listening. For the first time, he heard her say the name clearly in her sleep. Holly. Spring arrived quietly. The city changed in small ways. Snow disappeared from sidewalks. Trees showed new leaves. The air no longer burned the lungs when people stepped outside. Life moved forward without announcing itself. Inside the apartment, things became steady. Donna kept going to therapy. Some memories returned, others did not. The doctors were honest. They said some gaps might stay forever. Donna accepted that. She stopped trying to force the past and focused on what was in front of her. Jack stayed patient. He didn't expect her to become the person she had been before. He didn't ask her to remember everything. He showed up every day, did his part, and let time do the rest. Holly was the bridge between them. She talked constantly about school, about friends, about small problems that felt big to her. Donna listened. She learned Holly's routines, her favorite foods, the way she liked her hair tied, the stories she wanted before bed. One night, Holly asked, "Are you staying?" Donna looked at Jack. "Yes," Donna said. "I'm staying." Jack nodded. That was all he needed. The DNA paperwork was finalized. Social services closed their case. The apartment lease was updated. Donna got new identification with help from Karen. Her name was official again. Her life was no longer temporary. On a quiet evening, Jack cooked dinner while Donna set the table. Holly helped by placing napkins slightly crooked. "This feels normal," Donna said. "It is," Jack replied. They didn't talk about the past much anymore. When it came up, it came naturally. When it didn't, they let it rest. One weekend, they went back to the mall. Not the same part, not the back area, just the front, where sunlight came through the glass ceiling. Holly held both their hands this time. "I like it better like this," she said. "So do I," Donna answered. Jack didn't say anything. He just walked beside them. That night, they made hot chocolate together. Marshmallows, chocolate chips, just like Jack had promised years ago. Holly laughed when Donna added too many marshmallows. "Mom," she said, smiling. Donna paused for a second. Then she smiled back. "Yes?" Nothing else was needed. Later, when the apartment was quiet, Jack sat on the couch while Donna checked on Holly. She stood in the doorway, watching their daughter sleep. "She looks safe," Donna said. "She is," Jack replied. Donna sat beside him. "I don't remember everything," she said, "but I know this is where I belong." Jack nodded. "That's enough." Outside, the city continued as it always had. Cars passed, lights changed, people hurried home. Inside, 3 people sat together. Not perfect, not complete in every way, but together. And this time, that was real. Sometimes miracles don't come as thunder or light from the sky. Sometimes they come quietly, through love, through instinct, through a moment when someone chooses to protect instead of walking away. This family didn't find each other by chance. They found each other because God never truly lets love disappear, even when people are lost, even when memories are broken, even when hope feels far away. In our daily lives, we often pass by pain without seeing it. We judge too quickly. We assume what's gone is gone forever. But this story reminds us, what God has written for us cannot be erased, only delayed. If this story touched your heart, let it remind you to look again, to love deeper, and to believe that healing is always possible. May God bless you and your family. May He protect those you love, and may He guide you back to what truly matters. If this story moved you even a little, share it with someone who needs hope. Comment below. We read every word. Subscribe to the channel to support more stories of love, healing, and second chances. God bless you, and thank you for being here.